Dear everyone, my name is Sonja Vilicic, and in the name of the organization Haver Serbia, I would like to welcome you to the second part of our educational lectures around the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Tonight, it's our pure pleasure to have with us as a speaker, Dr. Chava Baruch, that many of you on this call actually know and had a chance to learn from. Chava is a historian, and she was the head of the Central European Desk in the European Department of the International School for Holocaust Studies in Yad Vashem. While working for Yad Vashem, Chava organized unbelievable amount of teachers training, seminars, both in Israel, but also abroad. And she worked with teachers for more than 8 European countries, including Serbia, Hungary, Romania, Croatia, etc., etc. In that capacity, Chava also visited Serbia many times and worked with many teachers. Some of you are present here tonight. And we are really grateful for Chava's time. She currently in pension and enjoying her time after long years of working in Holocaust education, but she was really ready to give us a presentation. And as I said, we are really grateful for your time and for your energy that you still have for teaching these subjects. Today's presentation is mainly based on the personal story of Lili Kasticher, who was born in 1923 in Novi Sad. And through her story, but also through the story of many women, Chava will talk about cultural activity of Jewish women at the Labor Camp of Ober, Hohenelbe. It's very hard for me to pronounce. It's a labor camp that was in Czechoslovakia. Dear Chava, thank you again and welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It is a real pleasure for me to be with you. I can't see all of you, but actually I miss all of my good friends abroad and in Serbia especially. You know, I would like to share with you one of my first experience when I started to deal with this topic of the Holocaust. First, nobody wanted to talk about it. Don't talk about it. So you have to be silent. And then people understood that there is a need to talk about it. So how to talk about it? And then became a period of time that mostly emphasized the terrible part of the Holocaust. All the parts of the Holocaust are terrible, but they were emphasizing terrible physical parts, let's say this way, the corpses, etc. And actually it was very hard to understand, especially for the young generation, what is all about, what happened actually. So we went through a long time, and then we understood that we have to move and to do more. I just want to add that when I was visiting this region of you, I was several times in the camps of Jasenovac, Sajnište not, but Stara Gradiška. And the first thing that they showed me, again, all the beheaded babies. Who can look at this? I couldn't. Nobody can really understand the real meaning of this huge number of 6 million. Today, you know, there is a debate about the numbers, which is an endless debate. But when we are talking about corpses and numbers, in a way, we are going on with the dehumanization of the victims, because we are ignoring them. We are talking about their dead body, and they are numbers again, just like the Nazis did. So some more than almost 30 years ago, a new trend started to work. Let's talk about the personal story. Let's talk about a person who went through these terrible things and try to understand how he could do something in this situation. What is that he could do at all? and what was his strength to survive, if he survived, okay? So I think that from this story that I would like to present you, I decided that it could be very interesting for you because this wonderful lady, Lili Kasticher, was born in this region. And most of her life before the Holocaust, she spent in Novi Sad. She was deported from Novi Sad. But I would like to add something that actually through her story, we can touch several very important aspects of the Holocaust, and we can raise questions such as what is that we can learn about Jewish life before the Holocaust? What is that we can learn about dealing with the situation during the Holocaust? We can, if we are following her whole life in that case, was the liberation a real liberation for her? Yes or no? So we have to deal with a lot of questions, and you know, we will never be able to answer all the questions in one lecture, but actually we will touch them in a way. So I'm sorry that I am very poor in this part of how to deal with presentation from abroad. So I asked Sonia to help me, and in a way I am abusing her. Excuse me, but thank you for your help. So we can start, okay? So, you know, I always asking questions when I'm trying to do with any kind of historical story. So I asked myself, why was it so important for them? And we are talking about cultural activity of Jewish women at the labor camp of Oberhohenelbe. Oberhohenelbe is in the Sudetenland, okay, part of Europe. And I will talk about it later, but actually you can see upstairs part of this documentation. And I have to tell you the story. Almost 20 years ago, one day I was working in several departments of Yad Vashem. One of them was also the archives. And one day the director of the archive showed me a very big, how to say, classer, I don't know how to say, a lot of documentation from the Holocaust in Hungarian. And she asked me, Chava, tell me what is written here, because one of the relatives, in that case, the daughter of this lady who wrote everything here and who kept this wonderful thing, she wants to know what is written there. And then when I started to read all those documentations, actually, I'm still reading it. You can't stop reading it because it is fascinating. So now I would like to go on, please. Okay, Sonia, please. So Lili was born in, you know, Petrovolslav, or she was raised up in Novi Sad, you see, in 1923. And she was living mostly in Novi Sad before the Holocaust. She was deported from Novi Sad to Auschwitz. From Auschwitz, she was moved. They moved her with other Jewish girls and women to the Sudeten part of Europe in a labor camp named Oberhohenelbe. I will explain it more. And then after the war, and here is the place that all this cultural activity happened, and I will talk about it. After the war, she came back to Novi Sad. Most of her family disappeared, they were killed. And she tried to live a new life. She got married. I will talk about it in the end of the lecture. It was not so successful for her. Anyhow, she had her first child, a son, Alex, and then she came to Israel in 1946. And here she actually, in one side, she has a life of a regular woman, but this part of her life in during the Holocaust was with her, was in her heart, and she couldn't stop to think about it and to write about it. Now, I will talk about it a little bit later because, as I told you, at that time in Israel, people were talking, but not so loudly, okay? There was a general commemoration day, and there was general way of commemorating the Holocaust, but the personal voice was still very, very silent, okay? But Lili never stopped to write about it, to talk about it, and I will talk about it later, okay? In 1967, in the Six-Day War, and you know I'm so old that I remember this already very well, I was a young girl, there was 2 weeks of a big stress all over Israel because we felt that the Arabian armies around us, surrounding us, and somehow we were waiting what will happen. But for Lili, it was a terrible time, and she actually was very afraid that everything will happen again. And I will tell you later on what happened. The same happened to her in the Yom Kippur War. Now, in that time, she had her son in the army, and later on again. So she was in a terrible mood in that time.
Nažalost, ne čujemo.
Yes, also we don't hear. Maybe Chava has issues with the connection. Let's wait for a few seconds.
Budući da je vrijeme šutnje, može li se ubaciti jedno Petrovo selo?
Može. Hvala.
Petrovo selo. Ada.
Ja ću da probam da pišem Havi, samo vas molim za malo strpljenja. Chava is back, slowly.
Okay, no. Okay, now you hear me?
Yes,
it's okay.
Back. It's okay. We don't see you still, but it's okay.
Again, Rega, let's.
Take your time.
Oh, Rega.
Okay, now you're back. You're back.
Sorry. And can you hear me?
Yes, everything is great. Thank you.
Okay, so please go on. I'm ready.
Chava, Aramco.
We can't hear you now. Just unmute yourself.
Put the microphone on. Your mic is off. Chava.
I think she has a problem with connection.
I know, I understand, but
it's okay. Now we can hear you. Don't worry.
It's okay. So please, can you go on? Sorry.
Yes. Perfect.
Ignore this part of the lecture. Sorry, please ignore. Okay. Okay, go on. So, Lili, as I told you, Lili couldn't let's say, forget anything from all her experiences she went through during the Holocaust. And actually she wrote down everything that happened to her. She was deported from Novi Sad in 1944 to Baja. Baja is in Hungary, and it was a kind of place that the Jews were collected all over the part of where the Hungarians ruled at that time. And from Baja, she was deported to Auschwitz. But she told us, she wrote, okay, that she arrived to Auschwitz totally alone, because in the train station, in the last moment, some of her relatives, one of the aunts, was beaten up by the Nazis, so she already arrived to Auschwitz by herself, a young girl. She arrived to Auschwitz, and then in Auschwitz, she had a, a couple, not the Jewish one. She noticed that she is writing letters, and somehow she thought that probably she's writing to her lover in the front. It was just an assumption. And she tried to tell her what will happen in palm reading from her hand. And she was also drawing. And one day when the saw that she is able to draw, so told her to draw beautiful drawings on her letters. So this was the first occasion that she could keep all the colors that she was painting with. Now later on, she, together with other almost 400 girls, they were moved to a labor camp to Oberhohenelbe. Now you have to understand that in this last moment of the war, there was still a very big need for working hands. So that is the reason that the Nazis kept those young girls in that occasion, and they moved them to another place, not in Auschwitz. They didn't kill them in that place, but they moved them to a labor camp. You know, during the years, I understood that my mother was in one of those camps very nearby Oberhohenelbe, in the same age of Lili. My mother was born in 1924. She already died as well. So those girls were chosen in a special way, and they were moved to this camp for working. Now, here in Oberhohenelbe, we will describe this whole cultural activity. When Lili with her friends, one of them was Rachel, they announcing a competition among the prisoners, among the girls that were around, not among all the prisoners. I will talk about it while the presentation. In 1945, in the liberation, Lili actually took all those papers. She was hiding those papers. I will talk about the papers, exactly how and what. And she smuggled them for save those documentation for the future. And that's what she did, and this is why we can talk about it today. In 1946, Lili was writing, and later on, as I told you, she was afraid of a new Holocaust. And in 1973, she had a terrible feeling that nobody believed her. And there was a very sad end of her life. Sonia, please go on. Okay, now we are going to this part. So before the deportation, the family of Lili tried to hide most important papers and family treasures in a special part in this beautiful vase, okay, that they kept and is still here today. And you can understand when I'm opening those papers, you see how many languages they were speaking. You see here a picture, a family picture. So actually we can learn about the real treasures of a Jewish family, in that case of that of Lili, and you will hear about it more. And I would like to mention, since Sonia told me that you had a lecture about anti-Semitism today, and generally speaking, you have to know that many of the non-Jewish local population, not all of them, but a lot of them, who were anti-Semitic feelings, who had anti-Semitic feelings, they thought that the Jews are very rich. This is one of the arguments of the anti-Semitics, that the Jews are rich and actually they stole everything from the non-Jewish people. This is what they are saying. So when they saw that many of the Jews tried to hide something in the garden, like those papers or something, they believe that the Jews are hiding gold and money. So right after the deportation, they started to dig in the gardens to find everything. And I have to tell you a terrible part of the Hungarian Jewry history, that the Hungarian gendarmes were beating up and were, how to say, almost killed everybody there for telling, where did you hide your treasures? So it was terrible part of this, before they arrived to the camps, you know. This is also part of the stories. Many of the people believe Holocaust is Auschwitz, Holocaust is only on the camps. No, it started a long time before, day by day. Okay, so let's go, the next slide, okay? Now, this is one of the beautiful documents, beautiful, you know, any word that I will use, it is not the right word, interesting documents in this great documentation. It is a very typical notebook that every person that learned in Hungarian schools, so in this region, know this notebook. This is the Kockásfüzet, you know, with the strips there. Everybody knows that it is a notebook from that time. And Lili was writing down everything in this notebook. Sonia, if you can help me, please. Sonia, can you show the next slide and then come back, okay? You see, this is the first page in this notebook. And when I opened this notebook, it took me, believe me, a long time to understand when this document was written. Because in this notebook, Lili describes every stage, every part, from the first moment she arrived to Auschwitz up to the end. What happened, how she arrived, how they got the number. She started writing about terrible parts of people there, a young mother that lost her baby and how they tried to save this baby, and about the big gap between the Polish Jewish and the Hungarian Jewish prisoners. You can imagine the Polish Jews were the first Jews that arrived to Auschwitz. So when the Hungarian Jews arrived in 1944, and the Polish Jews were there some years ago, they were very angry. Ah, you came now. Until now, you had a good life, and we suffered here. So, you know, not everything is so beautiful just because they were Jews or we are Jews. Human beings are human beings. So she described this. And it took me a long time to understand how come I don't think that she could have this notebook in Auschwitz, or although there were possibilities of writing in a paper in Auschwitz, even in Auschwitz, it's somehow, okay? But not this notebook. And then I came back to the first page and I read it again and again, and she's writing, as my memories going back, like, you know, along, how do you say, rope, okay, that you are putting it back. I remember everything. Then I understood that she had to write it after the war here. And she's, as I told you, she's writing down everything she saw. Oh, she's in this notebook, okay? Moment of prisoners got there. As I told you, hatred between prisoners and terrible parts that very hard to talk about it. Okay? Let's go to the next one, okay, please. Next one again, okay? Now, she was taken with those Jewish women. I told you almost 400 of Jewish women to the Sudeten. Now, it is an important map just for understanding, you know, how the Nazi regime worked. It was a network of camps, you see. Grossrosen was the biggest camp, but there were a lot of camps around. So, and there were labor camps. And you have to imagine that in every small camp were working Jewish and non-Jewish prisoners. For the Jewish person, it was much more harder because they had a different approach to them. But try to imagine that they have to go by foot. They had to walk every morning from one place to other one. That's already what I heard from my mother. She was in Parsnitz, and they were walking by foot in the morning to the work, and then they are coming back. But there were places they were staying there also in the night. So this, the head, can you, the next slide, please? The next, okay. So you have here some details about this terrible camp. No, please, before, the Grossrosen. One before, please. Okay, so you can see here several, no, just the text, please. The next one, okay. Sonia, please stay with this, okay? And then we will continue. So you can see that it started already in 41, this very big network of camps, and there were prisoners there. You have here numbers, but we have to understand that here we have a lot of Jewish women also. Nearly 26,000 of these were women, most of them Jews. Okay, this was one of the largest groups of female prisoners in the entire concentration camp system. So, and Lili is writing about it. In a way, it was a better place than Auschwitz, you know, because Auschwitz was, first of all, not just a concentration camp, but a death camp. In this place, they had to work. So in a way, the Nazis understood that those people have to eat a little bit more if they want them to work somehow, okay? So in a way, there were better conditions. But in the other hand, it was a terrible condition as well. They were not free. It was a terrible place to be there. Let's go to the next part, okay? Sonia, can we move? Okay, now from this big network, we see that Lili is talking about a special factory called Lawrence Factory, and they were working in this factory, as we can see, blind landing aid at many airports, and equipped most of their bombers with radio equipment needed to use it. The name of refers to the company that produced the system, okay? So they had to work in very delicate work, and that's why they were choosing this woman with very delicate hands and good eyes and young girls that can do this work. And this was their work, ultra short wave landing radio beacon. Okay, I don't know how to explain it more, but you understand. Okay, so that was their work in the Lawrence Factory, and they are working there. Okay, let's see the next one. And then now we are going to the girls, the women, the Lili Kasticher and her friends, the girlfriends, okay? So now we are talking in a smaller group of the women that were together in the same place, let's say like a room, Lili and something around 20 girls, okay? And Rachel Avnieli and her sister, you know, they were together and they started to talk about and this and that. And they decided together that they will not allow those miserable murderers to extinguish the spark of humanity from our hearts. That we must to do something to nourish our spirits. We had to master the strength to create something beautiful and good and would help us to make it through these terrible times. Okay, so just to think about it, all those girls are totally separated from their parents, from their family. They don't know anything about them. Perhaps they even somehow understood that they were killed. They are alone there. And they are working hard, although in a little bit better situation and conditions. And you know, we know that it was in the end of the war, and in those labor camps also were working some older German, not just soldiers, but different kind of Germans that worked there. And those people sometimes gave a piece of bread or something. I know my mother told me this, how she could survive day by day, okay? So it is a little bit different, but still they are prisoners and they have nothing to do with this. They can't do anything. And look in this beautiful sentence. Let's try to do something for our spirit, for the spark of humanity, and not to, how to say, and do something against the Nazi aim that totally wanted, they humanize them. You want me to do that I will become an animal? No, we are not animals. We are human beings and we are able to do something together. And this is a wonderful thing to think about it. And then Lili and also Rachel, but mainly Lili, worked very intensively to encourage the girls to create, to write, to compose, and engage in every possible area of creative activity. And in Sunday, you know, in Sunday, all the guards, they closed them in a certain place, and they left them alone, but they couldn't go out. So let's say that's what they saw, is Lili and Rachel. In every Sunday evening, we will read and we will see what one of the girls, every one of the group wrote and did. So cultural activity is a kind of rebel, a kind of fighting against the goal of the Nazis, just to think about it. Let's go to the next one, to the next slide. And Lili announced a competition. And here is the page of this paper, and it's written in Hungarian. And this is what she wrote. Write, draw, and you can win. The prizes are a barrel of potatoes, a sewing needle, a palm reading, and a beautiful drawing. Okay, so just imagine to announce a and drawing in this place the potato that she saved from her mouth. She didn't eat her portion for giving it to somebody as a prize. Now, you know, to describe hunger, it is just impossible from here. When we are here in our beautiful rooms, warm rooms with coffee or anything, we can't imagine what is the meaning of real hunger. Nobody can really imagine, nobody can really explain it, but we are trying. So that is the competition that she announced, together with Rachel and other girls. Now how to do it? Okay, why to do it? How to do it? Let's see the next part, okay? Sonia. we decided to give each other prizes. The prize could be a few spoonfuls of soup or potato alone in the pot. The prize was given to the girl who drew a piece of paper with her name on it from the bowl. The works were numbered so as not to expose their creator identity. Everyone was given a number to identify them. We hung them on a rope to keep them safe. Above my bed hung a box by a rope in which were all those things we made in Sundays. We were 20 artists. There were also girls who told stories orally without writing them down. Okay? So look, she, first of all, Lili, but also her friends as well, they decided how to do this, okay? So there is a prize, some kind of food that they could spare. But in the other hand, you can't just announce a competition. It is not a concert room, okay? Not a concert hall. You are in a terrible camp. So they decided to, so how they put, where is the papers? How can they get papers? So actually they collected the papers from the floor of the rooms where the Nazis were working. After they left the room, they collected pieces of papers that they just threw away, okay? And those were the papers that they could collect. Lili still had some of the colors that she kept, but somehow probably they could have a little bit more. And they gave numbers, and not just the numbers, but kind of false names, because they were afraid that if somebody will see this, it could be very dangerous. So just to think how they did it, and Lili kept this as she wrote it in a box by a rope, so it's a project. And one of the girls, you know, they were different kind of girls in this group. They were very young girls of age of 13 and 15, but there were also women of 20, 25, a big difference. A young girl is a young girl. Not only the age was very different, but also, let's say, their previous life and previous experience. Some of them were very young girls, just were separated from their families. But in the other hand, there were women who already learned in school and even in the university, different levels of culture as well. So let's see how they went on. Please, Sonia, the next one, okay? Can we go on? Sonia?
This is the new one. This is the new one.
Please, the next one, please. Okay. Now I would like to show you some examples. Now, you have to know that there is a lot of pictures like this in this collection. There are a lot of documents, written documents and drawings. We can't show you here everything. You understand this, but you can have a glimpse what kind of pictures they had. So, pictures drew by Erika Goldman. First of all, the family of Lili succeeded to find out the names, many of the names of the girls, because we didn't know in the beginning, okay? So, look what is that Erika Goldman did, and the picture, you know, in the center, this is Lili Kasticher. Now, I think it is also important to look at those pictures, because I think that if you will show it to a person who didn't hear about the Holocaust, or even if he heard about the Holocaust, he won't believe that those pictures are from the Holocaust, because they are so colorful, so beautiful. So actually you can see that they were drawing much more their dreams and their, how to say, hopes than the real situation that they were in. Because, for example, we have a lot of pictures and drawings from Theresienstadt, which is in Czechia. And for example, those pictures from Theresienstadt, you have also those kind of colorful pictures as well, but many of the pictures are describing the terrible situation. The Jews were there in black and white, and you hardly can look at them. It is so terrible. So this is one of the pictures. Sonia, please go on. Now, look, we dreamed of freedom and the end of the war. You see the very small picture, black and white picture, David Etu's landscape. They were in a certain place, but they could look out of the window. So actually they follow the nature, winter, summer, etc. And they draw the picture what they could see from the window. So the window is a window from the world, generally speaking, okay? And David Etus was not the only one who drew the pictures of the landscape from the window. And now you can see again beautiful women, fashionable women, and Spiegel Feige wrote, this is how we will go to Palestine. Again, keeping this hope, we will survive. We will go to Palestine. We have a very certain aim, and will be also very beautiful women. It's very nice. You know, I don't want to go too much to this gender aspect because I'm not an expert of this part, but it is very, very interesting to see this, that they were dreaming not just to be free and to go to Palestine, but to be beautiful women once again. And you know, Rachel Avnieli told me also that in the camp, when they kept in the morning some food, the very short part of the margarine, how do you say margarine? You know margarine? They put on their they put on their face. Okay, so it's really very touching. Okay, my mother also told me that after when her hair started to grow, she was very busy to arrange her hair. It has to be beautiful. And she also told me, I remember that she didn't drink a cup of so-called coffee because it was not coffee, but she tried to be clean with this cup of coffee. Okay, so very nice part of this collection. Let's see the next one. And again, we will have a wonderful place to live. And again, you can see Frankel Eva. Now she's looking at the winter from the window. And here there is a kitchen. And if people are looking very closely, it is a very Hungarian kitchen, you know. So you can learn where they are coming from. They just throw what they knew. And they are missing this wonderful place that they were at home. Even it is very small and very modest, we will have a wonderful place to live. Next one, please. Now, when I saw this collection and we tried to think with the family, how can we present this very large collection? And we tried to see what were the topics that they were writing about. And look how many kind of topics they were writing about homesick, about their home, about the parents. I will give you examples of most of those topics. Difficulties of everyday life in the camp, what to do, how to behave, you will see. Human behavior, birthday, many of them remembering, oh, today is my birthday of my father, birthday of my mother. I will give you examples. Beauty of the nature, memories from the good old times, and Jewish tradition, Hasidic tales, and about the future. I will show you now some examples because it's also very important to see what is that they were writing about. Actually, many of the topics are deriving from their previous life, and it is natural. What is that you can talk about? Only your experiences. Okay, please to the next one. And here you have some examples from those handwritings, and you can see even in the handwritings the difference. This, the first one, the black and white, It is a very young girl, Klein Edith. Okay, she's writing in a handwriting of a schoolgirl. The second one, it is an adult woman is writing. So it is very different and very interesting to see this. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, as I told you, they were thinking about their behavior. Now try to imagine, just to read. I'm ashamed of it myself when I sneak around and push my way into the canteen to see if there is any food left. And if there is, I will also get some. I delude myself in the belief that I will be lucky enough to get another portion, when in fact I discover that someone else has already gotten the much desired extra bit of soup drips out of the bowl. I too will be able to get some of it. Within that distorted picture, I know that I'm kidding myself. Look, she is hungry. And not only she, each one of them had to fight for a cup of soup. So how I'm going to behave in this case? I think that, I remember when I was still teaching students, there is one of the triggers that we use, that we are giving a huge part of chocolate, putting on the table, and waiting to see what will happen. And then you see who are the students who are jumping and getting as they can, and who are waiting in the side. How can they behave in that situation? Let's see, the next one. Sonjane, please. How to behave. And you say, see, those are the papers that they smuggled and they used for writing. And again, I would like to read, because it is really, I don't like to use this word, but unbelievable. We must control our anger. Instead of selfish acting, we have to cooperate, we have to sacrifice for each other, we have to decide to fight for each other and make each other's dreams come true. There is only together we can keep our human dignity. So in a place that they can't even imagine what will be the next step of the Nazis, everything is a surprise, nothing is for sure, and terrible conditions, and they are trying to create some kind of rules of behavior, how to behave. We must control our anger. Can I control my anger even here at home when I'm angry? Oh, when I'm angry, even my grandchildren is running away. They know me. Wow. She's angry, okay? So they are trying to control their most of their feelings. And what is the goal? Only if we are cooperating, we can keep our human face, okay? And we can help to each one dreams come true. We have dreams, and we have to help each other to make it come true. I think it is really very, very special. I don't remember a lot of those kind of examples. I know that a lot of places, not only this place, were activities, there were cultural activities in other camps as well. But this kind of decision, how to behave, it is very rare and very specific and very exceptional. Next one, please. Now, I told you that some of the girls who came from traditional Jewish families, they wrote down Hasidic stories from Yashari, memories about traditional preparation for Passover. So how a kind of cultural and religious tradition can go on even in this kind of place, even if you just writing it down. It is important. Next page, please. The next one. Oh, it is really very, very touching. This is a song. poem that they were writing for a doctor at sea lager. Okay, they are writing this already in the labor camp, but they are remembering the doctor in Auschwitz. Now look, like Moses, you are standing in the middle of our pain and sorrow. In our bleeding wounds, putting a piece of rag you borrow. You don't have any treatment for our suffering while we cry, but we are eager to hear your words saying, you will do it, you will survive. So what is the meaning of some good words in a place that even a doctor couldn't do anything else because she had nothing, no medicines, no nothing. But we were waiting for your word that I will survive. So I think it is very important that they wrote it down and they want to remember this doctor that helped only with her words, like Moses. Okay, next one, please. Songs about Jewish girl in captivity, and it is in Hungarian. And the last word here in Hungarian, not only the hope for a personal liberation, but the whole world will be also free. So to believe in this point that it will be another and a better world, I think it is very, very exceptional. I don't know how many people could keep their hope in this way. Many of the people try to survive, and just me and nobody else. They try to think about the whole world. The next one, please. Okay. Oh, I like this. I can't sing you the song, but I will tell you the story. It was written by Piri, number this and this, Song of the Lager, down there at Mexico. And Lili's family may find this song as well, because it was a very, very well-known song at that times, down there at Mexico, with a very good beat. So the girls wrote those words on the music of this song. So using music and to translate it to their situation. And look at this. Thousands of Jews from Hungary came here to have some fun. From that moment, they just adore Auschwitz, where everything is fine. People are ready to die from hunger. Our Block 7 is so beautiful, no one there. The leaders of the block are Polish mostly. They understand right away everything you are asking. They are answering politely by slapping on your face. Ay, 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 it's not so nice to live here. You can get here in the pension everything you dream about. Plenty of food, carrots, carrots, carrots. Early in the morning before going to swim, don't forget some water in glasses to bring. So you understand that there is nothing. And using humor. You know, humor, I read in some place, is the weapon of the weak. It's in the one hand, but being able to laugh on your situation in that place, okay, I have no words, okay? Very few of people could do this. We have very good examples. I know that there is also a book, I don't remember now who wrote it in Hebrew, Jewish humor during the Holocaust. And people were joking, okay? I know, excuse me, one of the jokes from Theresienstadt, the Jew is coming to the doctor, doctor, I'm feeling very bad, what to do? You need to do sport. Me, sport, what kind of sport? A transport. You understand Jewish humor in that situation? For us it is terrible, but for them it was day-by-day life, okay? So we have to understand their approach, and I really appreciate their strength. Go to the next one, please. I told you that one of the most recently used topic is they're missing, okay? They were missing their parents. Duke Svitza, my mother, you followed my first step as our guarding angel. My first word came from you. You always protect me, healed me with your kisses. I am praying for your health, asking God to keep you alive. Probably her mother was killed long time ago. She doesn't know. She is missing her. And her memory and her good nature and everything she gave her, this is something that's helping her even in that situation to go on some way. Next one, please, because I know that time is running. Now, I think it is very, very special thing here, and I gave only a very small example. Moses Rosi, homesick. Can you hear the voice of the big birds in the valley, the echo of sad songs of girls in captivity? Why it is so hard to forget. My heart is longing for my homeland near the Danube River. You know, I believe that everybody understands the meaning of your homeland. But when we are talking about this region, there are some people who can't understand this. I have to quote you some of the questions that my students asked me here in Israel, because they are living here in a free country. They have no idea, and they can't, how to say, accept that there were places where the Jews just were, you know, prisoners. And they can't understand how come that this girl is missing the homeland, in that case very close to Hungary, and not only Hungary, that actually betrayed them and deported them. Are you stupid? How come that you are still missing your homeland? But this is how they felt, because this was their homeland. This was the nature, this was everything around. They were missing this. I don't know what's going on. Hope that it's okay. Sonia, please go on. Can we go on? Zinger Valley, writing about freedom. You can see her handwriting is very special. Go to the next one. Klein Suri, Yankel, again a Jewish boy. It's a traditional story, praying on the grave of his father. Another example. Go to the next one. Oh, this is also Weiss Medi wrote a beautiful story, and it is an allegory, you know, it is a symbol. This story is about a beautiful tree that is growing a great tree, deep roots and many leaves, as wondrous tree and grow. But it is actually the roots are killing everything around. Okay. The tree grew and spread. Also, it was beautiful and spread culture and the growth of all the plants around it. All around the plants were choking, and the tree was taking over the world. The tree was taking over the world. The tree is the Nazi regime that took the world and ruling the world, and nobody can actually breathe because of this regime. God looked and observed. God, it's not good, God. God looked and observed. At a certain point, God decided to put an end to this and heard the spirit of the tree. The tree was punished, and insects and worms began to gnaw it again. Okay, so again, you will be punished. It is a symbol of the story. Okay, the Nazis will be punished, and everything will grow again. So I think that this kind of hope is really very, very special, and we have to understand this, okay? The next one. Garai Ibi, letter for my mother, birthday. This is the real picture of her mother. Please, the next one. And this is Garai family. Rachel Avnieli, her Hungarian name was Garai Vali, and Ibi was her sister, 3 sisters, but 2 of them were together. And actually, many of the members of the family, mother and this little guy, this beautiful little guy that's sitting here, They didn't came back. They were killed. So actually only the sisters had to start a new life. I will show you a little bit. The next one, please. Now, Gara Ivali, Rachel Avniali, this is I knew her personally. She was a very nice person, and she gave us this picture, and she arrived to Israel. I remember that she was talking about this beautiful dress, how they get this dress. It was not so usual here in Israel in that time. And her husband, you know, after the war is ending, somehow, you know, they survived. And she's young, beautiful. They came to Israel, and she met this wonderful guy. He didn't know a word in her language, not in Hungarian, not in Slovakian, not Russian. He knew Hebrew. I think it is a good idea in marriage that you don't know the language. Silence is golden. It can be very useful. We have tried to try it anyhow, you know. But she described her life with this guy and the mother, and those are her girls, also very beautiful girls and women. So a new life. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and Lili. And as I told you, again, liberation. You know, if you will ask young people, some of them, what is the meaning of liberation, I presume that many of them will say, oh, it's something very good. The bad times are ended. Now it will be okay. Happy end. Everything is beautiful. Let's see if it's true. Okay, so they survived. They came back. Lili came back to Novi Sad. No family, no nothing. She got married. It was not a very successful marriage. Anyhow, she had this wonderful guy, Alex, her son, and then she arrived to Israel. Please to go to the next one. Sonia, Sonia, the next one. And look here. And I think it is really amazing. And Lili wrote not just about what happened to her and not just showed and kept all this documentation, but she had a very, very strong commitment to forward the message and the legacy of the Holocaust. And she wrote one of the letters to my son. No, my son is too young to understand. He just has to keep those pictures that were made by those ladies who were kept in prison with his mother by those ugly SS soldiers. He will understand one day that in those days there was no way to fight with weapons but with words. And I think that this sentence could be written on the wall for all of us. When you don't have weapons, don't you think that you can do nothing? You have words. And until you have words, you can speak out. I think it is a very important message. And also this commitment to tell to the next generation. And I think that she succeeded because her family is doing everything for keeping her memory and the legacy of the Holocaust, more than everything. Okay, the next one, please. You know, again, broken life. One of the letters here from a friend that was her friend before the Holocaust, and they are wondering here in the letter, could it be different if there was no war? What could happen if there was no war and we could go together perhaps? So again, it's not so easy to forget what you had before the war. Let's go to the next one. Sonia? Okay. So another very interesting topic that we won't talk about it now, and actually I think that even the research is quite in the beginning concerning the second generation, even the definition, if there is a second generation, what is a second generation? I'm not going to explain this because it is another topic. But Daniela, the daughter of Lili, actually made and making her mother's, excuse me, she has only one mother. I had a mistake here. Mothers, you need an apostrophe here. Dream comes true. Because from the first time that they forwarded all this collection to Yad Vashem, up to today, that she and her family are trying to find out everything that her mother did and collected, and to show it and present it to the whole world, actually, not only in Israel, all over the world. I think that it is very important to see this, how it's going on and how it is important and how many efforts you need to keep this legacy alive in a way. Let's see in the next, please, the next one. And those are the names of the girls, the group of all the girls that took part in this cultural activity. And you know, every name is a human being with his life, with his dreams, and many of them couldn't survive, didn't survive. And they left their beautiful legacy to us, and I think that we have a lot to learn from this. Thank you.
Dear Chava, really thank you for this, I would say, at least for me, very emotional presentation. And the presentation that we usually don't get when we talk about the Holocaust. So we don't get to this part, or we don't get to, often we don't get to the resistance, and I feel this is absolute resistance. So thank you for...
In a way, Sonia, and you know, one of the accusations of the Jews, why didn't you resist? You didn't do nothing. You just went like, I don't know, I don't want to use even the word, but it depends how we are defining resistance. This is one of the examples that we have to remember. When you don't have weapons, you have words, and you can draw in color, and to dream about your future. How many people are able to do this? I really don't know. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like, for me, if I think about resistance, surviving is resistance as well. And, you know, anything is resistance, really. So thank you for bringing this perspective to the Holocaust history, I would say. It's also very emotional for me because I talked today to Daniela, to the daughter of Lili, and she's actually tonight together with her family. She's here with us tonight, and soon we will hear a little bit from her. But before we do that, I just want to say that also one of the women that were in Auschwitz, but also later on in other camps together with Lili, is here with us. Her name is Kato, and maybe she speaks Hungarian and Romanian. And Mina will spotlight for a short period so that we can all see her. She was one of the women that was part of this cultural activity. So we are, I don't know, I wouldn't say we are absolutely very happy, but very privileged to have this moment with family members and with somebody who survived this and was part of that. Hi, Kato. I will give a sentence in Hungarian, so if she wants to say something, she will understand me. So sorry about that. Kato, jó estét! Hogy akartok valamit mondani, lehet most mondani.
Magyarul, mert lefordítják. Tessék mondani.
Hát mit mondjak, annyi minden mondani való lenne, hogy nem tudok válogatni se. Olyan nehéz volt, hogy szeretném elfelejteni. Nagyon nehéz. Hohenelbébe, a gyárba, ott már egy kicsit jobb volt, mert legalább melegben voltunk, hiszen gyár. De ott is volt egy olyan, aki hajtott minket és fenyegetőzött, hogy viszünk Kroszrózenbe, mert ott volt a legelső, az volt a legközelebb, és gondolták, hogy ott majd elégetnek, mint Auschwitzban, és állandóan arról beszélt. Na, az egy legalább megkapta, amit meg kellett kapjon. A lengyel fiúk elfogták, akiket szintén ott kínzott abba a gyárba, és azt kivégezték, de sajnos a többi szétfutott. Itt mondjak még.
Köszönöm szépen,
Kata. Hazajött családból, egyedül.
Chava, maybe you, I mean, I think your Hungarian is better than mine.
Tessék várni.
Okay, so she mostly talking about the hardship in the camp. It was very, very hard, and there was a guard there that always threatened them that we will take you and we will burn you like in Auschwitz in the closest camp. And fortunately, the Polish guys kept him later on and took a revenge. But she came back alone from all her family, and it was very, very hard. And she tried to forget, but she will never forget it, and it was really very, very hard for her. Ugye, Kati néni, ezt tetszett mondani?
Igen, ezt tetszett mondani.
És nagyon szépen köszönjük önnek, hogy...
Szeretném elfelejteni, és egyedül én jöttem haza a családból. Édesanyámat előttem vitték, mert ez később került be. Jaj, rémes volt, nem szerettek beszélni róla, nem szerettek rá gondolni.
Akkor ne is erőltessük. She doesn't want even to remember. It is so hard to her because they took her mother and she lost her mother. She came back or only herself alone, and
she was together with her mother.
Yes, she understood.
And she was selected after in July, not at the arrival.
Okay, she lost her mother. Okay.
She lost her.
Yes, that's what is so hard to accept even today, so many times and years later on.
Thank you, Chava, also for translating. Kata, nagyon szépen köszönöm. Paul, also thank you for connecting us to Kata. I would like to invite Daniela, the daughter of Lili, and if Alex, her brother, is here, we would be happy to see him as well. Daniela, if you can just share with us whatever you would like to share with us, we will be very grateful. And if anyone wants to ask questions to Chava or to Daniela or to anyone else, please feel free to do that. Daniela, please.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Chava. I'm very excited, and I'm excited to see Kato. And I would like to ask her if she remembers my mother.
Tetszik emlékezni az édesanyjára.
Lili.
Kasticher Lilire, aki szervezte ezeket a rendezvényeket, a kulturális rendezvényeket. Lilire.
Nem emlékszem, de nem is velem volt.
Lili, dehogy nem, hát Kasticher Lili, a Novi Sadi, aki szervezte ezeket a kulturális rendezvényeket. Tetszik emlékezni még rá? Weissmelindára emlékszik jobban.
Weissmedi make a lot of beautiful paintings and stories. Amazing. I will take care that they will learn in school what the Medivice write. I'm in touch with her daughter, Eva Schul.
In Brazil.
I want to tell that you are very brave. You was very brave in the camp to be human, to share the food, to share the humanity in so hard condition. And I'm so happy to see you. Thank you.
Daniela, את רוצה שנתרגם לה? That I will translate her?
כן.
Katonéni, azt mondja Daniela, hogy ő nagyon szeretné megköszönni önöknek, mert ő azt hiszi, hogy nagyon-nagyon bátrak voltatok, hogy ezt egyszerűen meg is tettétek, hogy ilyennel foglalkoztatok, és Daniela szeretné ezt elérni, hogy az iskolákba tanítsák ezt a dolgot, és bemutassák, hogy miket írtatok, és miket írtak ott, például, mint a Weissmedi, mert ő ezt nagyon nagyra becsüli, mert nagyon kevesen voltak képesek így megőrizni az emberi mi voltukat. És hogy nagyon szépen köszönni, mert nagyon bátrak voltatok akkor. Ő így gondolja.
So she thanks also for the possibility, and
we can't hear you, Paul. I can't hear you. You need some. Yeah, can you unmute the microphone, please?
Okay,
yeah.
So and she's grateful also for Livia Baruch, the physician who in the factory, the inmate, who for example helped a pregnant woman to give birth there in the factory, and the baby survived, even when they hide Kato and the other girls somehow. When Mengele came in inspection in the end of March in the factory.
Wow.
Okay. Again, thank you for connecting and for being with us. If anyone wants to ask a question or share a reflection, please feel free to do that. And if Daniela, you would like to share more, I know that you told me today that you found 9 women from this list, that 3 of them are still alive today. One of them is Kata. So if you want to share a little bit, like maybe what is your hope? What is your hope?
My hope is to do what my mother wants. I was 15 years old when she died. She died in the Yom Kippur War, 1 month after Yom Kippur War, because she was afraid that Israel destroy after she built up herself. So she was always telling about the Holocaust. When she was in Auschwitz, she started to write, and nobody did it. Nobody can do it. She risked her life. And she started in Auschwitz to write things, and she bring it to Oberhohenelbe, and then she gave her food to people, to women, to write, and they write to us in these days. So when we read what they write there, they have a hope to build a country, to build Israel, and I think all what they thought that Judaism will destroy. So they write stories about Rabbi Akiva, Cherem de Rabbeinu Gershon, Bruria, daughter of, and all stories that they want us to know that about themselves. And until now, we didn't translate what they write. My mother risked her life because she promised to God, if you take me out from here, from Auschwitz, from Oberhohenelbe, I will destroy the evil. I will tell all the world what happened here, and no more, no again. And she came to Israel with all these papers, and nobody listened. She was, and now we let her voice, and we listen to her and to her friends, her heroes' friends, and I think they have something to tell us. And I want to thank you, and to thank all the people that search and stop their life and give place to this voice, to this screaming. And there is a lot to read and a lot to work and to find. I found 9 women and their children, and I'm going on to find more children of this hero woman and to give them what the mother write.
Yeah,
so the story now also in Serbia, and it is good.
Yes,
because
the story starts from Serbia, and somehow I feel that it returned to Serbia. Thank you really, Chava, for suggesting this, because it's a story that we don't know about, and we will make sure that it stays with us and that we talk about it. So thank you really, really for initiating this and for connecting us to this wonderful people and wonderful family. And I think I have a feeling that story also re-began again. I don't know, probably there is no phrase in English that is right, but I really feel that, and I can promise as an organization that we will be with this story and we will take it forward to other people. So